Today we're diving into what might be the biggest political defection in recent British history, a story the tabloids are literally comparing to a reality TV betrayal show. We'll explore why a senior Conservative just called his own party rotten to the core, what secret negotiations have been happening for months behind closed doors, and how the right wing of British politics is tearing itself apart in spectacular fashion. Plus, a bizarre celebrity video scandal that shows just how far some politicians will go for a quick buck. And trust me, I've saved the most revealing part for the very end. Before we get into it, I need to ask something. If you find value in what we do here, if you appreciate the hours of research, the fact-checking, the effort to cut through the noise and bring you actual journalism without corporate spin or political bias, please hit that like button and subscribe. And if you really want to support independent media, consider becoming a channel sponsor or using the Super Thanks feature. It genuinely makes a difference because this work takes time, real time. And in an age of fake news and propaganda, that commitment to truth matters. So stick with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see this entire political circus. Right? Let's start with the earthquake. Robert Jenrick, one of the most senior figures in the Conservative Party, has just defected to Nigel Farage's Reform UK. The Guardian is leading with this on their front page, quoting Jenrick's absolutely scathing assessment of his former colleagues. He's calling the Conservative Party rotten, failed. These aren't measured criticisms from a disappointed member. These are the words of someone burning bridges on the way out. Jenrick wasn't just any backbencher. This is a man who held significant positions, who was seen as a potential leadership contender. And he's walking away, not quietly, but with both barrels blazing. He's essentially telling the British public that the party that governed this country for 14 years is broken beyond repair. This isn't about policy disagreements anymore. This is about fundamental questions of trust, competence, and whether the Conservative Party even has a reason to exist. But here's what makes this particularly fascinating. This isn't happening in a vacuum. The right wing of British politics is experiencing something close to a civil war, and Jenrick's defection is both a symptom and an accelerant. You've got Reform UK pulling voters and now politicians away from the Conservatives. You've got internal Conservative factions at each other's throats, and you've got Labour sitting back watching their opposition tear itself apart. Could this moment define British politics for the next decade? The tabloids are having an absolute field day with this. The Sun and Metro have both run with covers comparing the whole affair to that TV show The Traitors, literally dressing politicians up in the show's signature cloaks and calling it traitories, with a play on Tories. Now, you might think this is just cheap tabloid humor, but there's something deeper here. The media is framing this as entertainment, as theatre. And that's exactly the problem with modern politics, isn't it? When serious constitutional questions about party loyalty and political stability get reduced to reality TV comparisons, what does that say about how seriously we're taking democracy? But maybe, just maybe, that's the most honest way to cover Westminster these days, because what we're watching is theatrical. Politicians are playing roles, making grand gestures, staging confrontations. The question is whether there's any substance behind the spectacle. When the line between governance and performance art gets this blurred, how do we even begin to hold these people accountable? What's Kemi Badenoch's response been to all this chaos? Well, according to the Independent and I newspaper, she's furious. She apparently fired Jenrick after learning about his plans through leaks, calling the day of his departure a day of poison and betrayals. Strong words. But if she's trying to project strength and control, this doesn't exactly scream competent leadership, does it? Because Badenoch didn't get ahead of this story. She reacted to it. Jenrick outmaneuvered her, controlled the narrative, and left her scrambling. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage is reportedly absolutely delighted. The press is describing him as thanking Badenoch for basically gift-wrapping Jenrick and handing him over. That's politically devastating for the Conservative leader. She looks weak. She looks like she's losing control of her own party. And in politics, perception matters more than reality most of the time. If MPs and voters believe you can't manage your own ranks, why would they trust you to manage the country? This is what a political nightmare looks like. Now, the Times has revealed something that makes this whole situation even more interesting. Apparently, Jenrick had been in secret negotiations with Farage for 4 months. 4 months. That means while he was still a shadow minister, while he was publicly representing conservative positions, he was privately planning his exit. The Daily Mirror and Daily Express are jumping on this, calling Reform UK a party of Tory failures. But here's the uncomfortable question nobody's really asking. If Jenrick was negotiating for months, what else was he doing during that time? Was he feeding information to Reform? Was he undermining Conservative strategy from the inside? And more broadly, if politicians can just secretly negotiate with rival parties while pretending to serve their current one, what does that do to any concept of loyalty or integrity? The press is questioning whether you can trust any of these people who switch sides, and honestly, that's a fair question. But I'd go further. Can you trust any of them at all? Because this isn't unique to Jenrick or Reform or the Conservatives. This is endemic to how modern politics works, where personal ambition always trumps principle. The Daily Mail and Daily Telegraph are framing Jenrick's defection as a grenade thrown into British politics, and Jenrick himself is claiming his former party has broken Britain. Now that's a hell of an accusation. He's saying the Conservative economic policies failed, their social policies failed, their approach to immigration, to the EU, to public services, all of it failed, and he wants the public to believe that Reform UK has the answers the Conservatives didn't. But here's my scepticism. Reform is essentially promising the same things the Conservatives promised, just louder and more extreme. Tax cuts, immigration controls, traditional values. If those policies didn't work when the Conservatives tried them with actual power, why would they work now? Both papers are calling for the right wing to stop fighting each other, to unite against Labour, but that assumes Labour is the problem. What if the problem is that the right has run out of ideas, that they've been in power so long, delivered so little, and now they're just scrambling for relevance? Financial Times puts Jenrick's defection on the front page, calling it the most significant Tory defection so far. But here's what caught my eye. The top of their front page features a large photo of ICE agents in Minneapolis, immigration enforcement in America. And that juxtaposition tells you something about how interconnected our political crises have become, because the same forces pulling British politics apart are pulling American politics apart. Populism, anti-immigration sentiment, distrust of institutions, the sense that traditional parties have failed ordinary people. This isn't a British phenomenon. It's global. And the Financial Times, by putting those two stories on the same page, is quietly acknowledging that connection. If we just focus on the personalities, we miss the structural forces at work. We miss the economic stagnation, the cultural anxiety, the democratic backsliding that's creating space for figures like Farage in the first place. Now, if you're still with me, thank you. If you're finding this analysis useful, drop a comment below. Tell me what you think about this political chaos. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. All right, lighter note for a moment. The Daily Star is leading with a story about Nigel Farage getting tricked on Cameo, that platform where celebrities record personalized video messages for money. Apparently, Farage was duped into recording a message for a convicted criminal. The paper is having an absolute laugh at his expense. But think about what this says. A member of parliament, a party leader, a man who wants to be taken seriously as a political force, is moonlighting on a celebrity message app for cash, and he's not carefully vetting who he's making videos for. It's a choice that says maybe some of these politicians are more interested in their personal brand and income than in serious governance. And the fact that the Daily Star can run this as their main story on the same day as a historic political defection tells you something about the media landscape too. We're not sure whether to treat politics as serious or as a joke anymore. So let me bring this all together. What does Jenrick's defection actually mean for British politics? First, the Conservative Party is in genuine crisis. When senior figures are publicly calling you rotten and failed, when they're jumping ship to a rival party, you're in trouble. Badenoch has a monumental task ahead of her, rebuilding credibility, unity, and purpose. Second, Reform UK is no longer a protest party. With Jenrick on board, with polling numbers rising, they're a legitimate threat to Conservative dominance on the right. That changes the entire electoral calculation. Farage might never win a majority, but he can absolutely split the vote enough to keep the Conservatives out of power for a generation. And third, this is all happening while Labour governs. While they make decisions about the economy, about public services, about Britain's place in the world, and the opposition is too busy fighting itself to hold them accountable. That's the real cost of this chaos. Not the theatre, not the personalities, policies, but the complete absence of effective opposition. Democracy requires functional alternatives. When one side implodes, everyone loses. So yeah, watch the defections, watch the drama, but don't forget what's at stake. It's not just party politics, it's whether British democracy can still produce competent governance at all. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me through this breakdown. If this kind of analysis is valuable to you, if you want independent journalism that doesn't pull punches and doesn't follow corporate or political lines, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and genuinely consider becoming a sponsor or using super thanks. It's what keeps this operation running. It's what allows me to spend hours researching, fact-checking, and bringing you content that cuts through the noise. And I don't take that support for granted. Until next time, stay informed, stay skeptical, and keep questioning everything they tell you.